So before we get into the topic at hand, I do have a video that is planned to go up Friday night. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot to say other than the topic about this video. So, what exactly was I doing on my hiatus? It's not really a laughing matter, but just thinking about it sucks. So, anyways, a lot of you know depression is a thing. Actually, I'm sure all of you know depression is a thing where it sends you into a downward spiral where you're not really wanting to communicate with those close to you or anybody around you. You just want to go your own way and try and figure stuff out if you can. If you can't, that's generally when you hit your all-time low and it heads for the worse. I didn't head for the worst, but I thought it was time for me to fix what I didn't like about myself. My attitude has pretty much changed in a drastic way. It's hard to explain. So it was more focused on my personality and rather being the person who I want to be rather than faking it until I make it, quote unquote. It's one of the things where you just want to try and figure out certain aspects. And it gets to the point where you're like, okay, well, this part sucks and so does this, but where's the positive in all this? So essentially, it was more or less me reflecting on my past and trying to figure out where I can go from there. Essentially, I looked at my past, I looked at where I am now, and I looked at where I want to be in the future. Now, the future, I don't know what it holds, because like anybody else, I'm just along for the ride, essentially, because nobody knows what their future is going to be. I came to terms with a lot of stuff that I just wanted to neglect for many, many years. It's one of the things that just eats at you. My conscience couldn't take a lot of it anymore. I just had to go about things the proper way rather than the wrong way that I had prior. And there's a lot of family stuff that went on behind the scenes, a lot of family drama, a lot of other stuff. I can't explain it because it's not my place to say, because I'm pretty sure other parts of my family don't want their business going over to other people whom they don't even know. So I can't exactly speak on that, but what I can say is I went from one bad situation to another, and then I finally got everything to calm down when I made that previous video about the stream update and that. So it's been an interesting ride, to say the least. There's a lot of things that I expected to happen, a lot of things that didn't happen. However, it's just like the rest of life. You're not going to exactly like that everything doesn't go your way. Some things will go your way, other things won't. You'll get to a point where you're like, well, why is this happening to me, and that sort of stuff. Well, the thing is I kind of understood a lot of where other people were coming from, but they decided to lash out rather than actually talk about their problems. Now, that's one thing that happens a lot. I know everybody goes through it where if somebody's not willing to deal with something at that time, they just lash out, and that's all they will do. And they'll push away the ones that are closest to them. I almost got to that point. I pushed people away. Did I lash out? I'm pretty sure somebody would say I did. However, that wasn't my intention. It's just, I'd rather feel isolated and work on myself that way rather than have somebody else telling me how I have to be. Because pretty much the entire time since I moved from Chetwynd to Prince George, that's pretty much how my life has been, is other people telling me, well, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to pay for this. You got to pay for that. And that's like... So in other words, you want me to be a clone of you and not be my own person. Because shortly after I got my job, people were saying, well, you got to go and find a better paying job because you're not making enough money there, blah, blah, blah. And it's been an ongoing circle. So it's to the point where rather than breaking, you just want to take time off and then sit down and reflect on stuff rather than looking at everybody and saying, well, you're all just against me, buzz off sort of scenario. So I know this is sort of a rambling video. However, I said I would explain, and that's kind of where it's at. Is it all started back in 2016 with people telling me pretty much how to live my life and that I wasn't good enough to their standards. So that's kind of where I'm at now, where I just can't take it anymore. I'm not going to extreme lengths. I'm still going to be around. It's just one of the moments where you're like, well, I've weighed the pros, I've weighed the cons, so best thing I can do is draw the line and then work from there. Now, what I mean by draw the line is start from the beginning, from where you're at now to wherever you want to go. So imagine you injured yourself during a race, but you want to get up and finish it. Now, it doesn't matter that everybody's already past you, because obviously you're injured. You're not going to be competing for the highest position anymore. So you just give up, not give up, get up, and then you give it your all. So essentially what it is you're drawing the line right where you injured yourself so that you can progress to where the finish line is. Now, in my life, I don't know where the finish line is, but I just know that whenever you draw that line, it's pretty much a new starting point of where you are and what you want to become, so that you're not dwelling on the past. Because if you dwell on the past, that's when you give up and you say, well, this race wasn't worth it anyways. I'm just going to lay here and hopefully somebody carries me off. But it's one of the things that I don't recommend doing in real life, is purposely injuring yourself and then trying to run away. Like, get up and run the rest of the race. I'm just using it as a figure of speech. I'm not meaning actually go and do that. I don't know why I have to explain this, but in this day and age, it's better off to explain it. So, metaphorically speaking, when you're at an all-time low in your life, a lot of people will tell you a lot of different things. And some of it will be actual wisdom. Some of it will be garbage. Now, what I consider the garbage is people telling you, like, oh, well, everybody goes through it. Yeah, thanks, but that doesn't exactly help. Or, get over it, I will. I'm sorry, but that doesn't exactly help in this situation. Or, well, you need to figure this out right away because I can't figure it out for you. Well, thanks, Captain Obvious. So if you're giving the obvious answers and that's what they're receiving, that's one of those moments where it's just garbage. If you're not going to give them, like, constructive criticism, it's to the point where it just doesn't make any sense and you're just wasting yours and my time. So you're not going to make that person feel any better. Essentially, you're just telling them, well, I don't care about your problem, listen to mine. Well, I know that's how the world works nowadays, but the thing is everybody is different. Everybody's wired differently. Everybody has their own likes, interests, dislikes, that sort of stuff. And everybody's mind changes. So it's not one of the things that it's a one-size-fits-all mentality for dealing with depression, because a lot of people go through different things. Some people have depression because they have PTSD. Others have depression because they have anxiety. social anxiety, fear. There's a lot of different benefactors in this. Sometimes it's even the littlest of things like allergies or accidentally cutting themselves or being sick. Now, there's a lot of things that you can do to try and progress from that stage, and not a lot of people want to look at the upside. They just look at the downside, and that's kind of where a lot of people go towards the suicide end of it, is because they feel like, I can't take this anymore, and pretty much they feel like everybody's against them and nobody cares. But the truth is there's always going to be somebody who cares. The issue is actually listening to that person who cares, because that person who cares is actually going to give you advice and tell you how to progress through this. Now, from my own experience, the one thing that I can say, like the entire line concept, is when you do that, it's more of a new beginning. It's out with the old, in with the new sort of thing. So essentially, you're just taking in everything that you used to know and pretty much just throwing it in the dumpster and getting it sent off, so that you never have to worry about it again, so that you can actually focus on the future and what makes you happy. Now, if what makes you happy is something as little as going out to a restaurant, like, let's say, like once a month or once a year, something like that, even if it's something that minuscule, it's a lot better for you to be happy one day of the year than being unhappy every day of the year. I know a lot of people will be looking like, it doesn't make any sense. That means I have to be unhappy for 360 some odd days of the year. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is, if you're happy that one day of the year, chances are that one day of the year is going to stick with you longer than the unhappy days. So whenever you're feeling sad and lonely and that sort of stuff, that stuff is only temporary, and it's going to fade away one day. As soon as you find what your calling is and what makes you happy, it's going to be one of the times where you'll look back, you'll reflect, and you'll actually be able to laugh from where you were to where you are now. Now, for me, I'm not exactly at that point. I don't know when I'll get to that point. It might be 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years down the road. I don't know. Probably won't live to be 122, but who knows? Stranger things have been known to happen. So, essentially, it's just been depression-based, and there are a lot of bad things that you can say to somebody who's depressed that will make the situation worse. The best thing that you can do is come to an understanding and be thankful for that they're listening and they're actually trying to help you out of it. Now, a lot of people try to help in their own ways. Sometimes it does more harm than good, but you have to understand that it's coming from a loving place at times. I know I've struggled to see that a lot of the time, but it's one of the things that you just have to sort of look at and then be like, okay, well, that was great, but where do we go from there? You're saying one thing now, but to get to the future part, what aspect do I have to really change about that part? It's not always going to be an easy answer. I can't give a good example, unfortunately, because once again, it's family related. However, when you look at everybody else and then you just get yourself so full of pride and you just go and start lashing out at everybody because they don't have the same idea as you, because you're saying, well, they don't get where my mindset is and my point of view is. When the reality is they've been in your point of view the entire time. They don't have the other perspective. Now, when you get the other perspective, a lot of the times you're going to lash out at them because you feel like you're in the darkest days of your life and that they're against you. But the truth is they're just trying to help you understand what is going on. Yes, whatever happened was crappy, but here's how you can move on from it. So, good example is, we all know what happened about a year ago, is I made a video called I'm Happy for Her. Now, can I say making that video sucked? Yes, I can. Where have I come from there? I've come to the understanding of a lot of different things, and I have learned from the past mistake that I had made. Now, essentially, it's more relationship advice around that area, but whatever, we'll just go for it, because I'm pretty sure this video is hitting 20 minutes anyways. Essentially, when that happens, a lot of people want to lash out, and they just want to say, well, the other person's this, that, and the next thing. Well, I didn't exactly do that. I went and said, okay, well, that's perfectly fine. I'm happy for you. And essentially went along our own ways. But when reality is yes, it does hit like a frickin' truck. But the thing is if you stay in the mindset of, well, I hate that person because of what has happened, it just eats at you. And it makes you go, well, why am I thinking about this at a time that I'm supposed to be happy? Well, the truth is you just made yourself unhappy because you were thinking about it. But when a situation goes like that and heads south, and you look at the positive and you look at the negative, well, I could have done this better, but here's what I'll do to improve. It's just like anything to do within sports. Sometimes your relationships will fall through, sometimes they will be amazing. I'm going to quote a sports quote right now, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And with those odds, are you going to miss from time to time? Yes, it's just like anything that's sports related. Sometimes it's not going to go exactly as planned. If you're curling, sometimes someone will accidentally touch the rock and make it dead, so that no longer counts anymore. Sometimes in hockey, you're going to hit the post. Sometimes in soccer, you're going to fire it right at the goalie, and he's going to stop it every time. Sometimes in football, you're going to fumble the ball and watch the other team run away with it. Now, even in golf, sometimes you will see the pros actually miss the ball. Now, it doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. Now, the thing about that is you just have to look at one pro and one con. Yes, this sucked that my feelings towards whatever person is not where I wanted it to be. But on the bright side, now I have something to look forward to. Because when it actually happens, I will be open and accepting to any and all possibilities. Now, one of them is fear-induced. The other is happiness. Now, what do you want to do? Live in fear or be happy? So, essentially, when I worked on myself, it was sort of that mentality that I had going into it. It's more of a thinking, okay, I did this, but how can I improve to make it better? Because obviously there's not a lot of things that I actually say on camera, because I'm not going to toot my own horn and make it sound like I'm a great person. Because I haven't even told you guys about a lot of the stuff that I have done that's nice for other people, because I don't feel like I need to like feed my ego that was already there pre-existingly, that I'm trying to get rid of. Good example I can give is my mom and I went to Domino's around Canada Day. This was either like last year or the year before last. I don't quite remember. But we seen this homeless guy sitting on the side of the street. We decided to go and give him a couple of large slices of pizza, because it was Canada Day. He looked like he'd been starving, that sort of thing. Sometimes that's all you need to do to make somebody else happy. And like I said before, I'm here to entertain and make other people happy. Now, if I can't make myself happy, how am I going to make somebody else happy? Yes, I can smile through the pain, but it's going to eat at you when you stop. Because you can't always just keep on giving it your all and expect nothing to happen. Now, moral of that story is we meet that guy Happy. I told him, Happy Canada Day, you look hungry, here, have this. I handed it to him. As far as I was concerned, I did my good deed for the day, but the truth is one good deed goes a long way. Maybe the one guy that you gave a couple of coins onto the street may actually become something in life. They're not all going to be people who are cracked out on drugs and that sort of thing and ODing on drugs. Because there are some people that truly are genuinely good people that are homeless. And essentially, when you look at it, is we're not much better than them. We all have our own demons that we're trying to fight, and our own addictions that we're trying to kick, and our own group of people that we dislike. But the thing is everybody's human, and once everything becomes clear, you're going to stop looking at everybody as the enemy, as opposed to looking at them as, I can create a solution for this. So, like almost any good scientist has, they've had a problem, they've created a solution. Now, did they get it right away? No, they had to work at it. And life is a lot of that, is if you work at it, chances are it's going to be better off in the long run than it is in the short run. The short run is, sure, your car can run on a low tank of fuel for a couple of miles, but do you really want to get it that low? No. So what you do is you fill up your tank with energy and motivation, and then you keep going along your path, rather than breaking down on the side of the road. Because life is like a race. Every time that you think you're going to be fine, there's always going to be a pit stop along the way, and we all dread them. But things happen, just like blown tires. Blown tires happen, and it's one of the facts of the matter of life is you're not going to like everything that happens. Yes, that's going to create a pit stop and a halt in your life, but the truth is anything that's supposed to happen in your life is going to happen in your life, regardless whether you want it to or not. It's just the willingness to accept it for what it is, because a lot of people see gifts, and they look the gift horse in the mouth, and they just not mouse, that was an unintentional pun, and just throw it back at their face saying, well, I don't want this. You don't want to be that gritty kid in that situation. It's not a good sign, and it's not a good feeling. So, moral of the story is that's the sort of stuff that I was looking at, and I hope that helps you guys get a better understanding, and I hope this helps somebody in the future along the lines. Other than that, I hope you're having a fantastic 2019, and if you're not, I hope it gets better for you sooner rather than later. Peace out, and I shall... Well, put it this way, I don't think I'll see you in the next video, so enjoy the very next video this Friday.